Hello and welcome to another episode of The Naked Turner out here in the Naked Turner wood shop. I'm working on taking a Slimline pen and turning it into a long tube twist pen. So I'll show you the process of going about doing that. I'm starting out with some of the really nice curly or fiddleback maple that I have from my cousin and my uncle, and I will be using that in order to make this particular pen. It's very strong wood, so it will lend itself to this type of pen that does not have a brass tube in half of it. I will be using a brass tube as a spacer, which I'll show you later in this video, so stay tuned. You might enjoy it. You can make a more unique and custom style pen or pencil with a Slimline style pen or pencil set. So let's get going. Head over here to the lathe. All right, so I've got the brass tube inserted and glued in to one end of this full-length blank, and the blank is just a little bit longer than both of the tubes so that I can trim this end, and then later on I'll trim the other end. So once I have it glued in, what you want to do is make sure you clean all the CA out of that tube using the appropriate size drill bit. And do the same from this side, just making sure you don't have anything inside. Like, see, I can see a little bit down in there. So I will be removing as much of that as possible. It will make your pen go together better and also make the mechanism for twisting work better. For that is a handle I turned with an old chuck from an old Makita, or can't remember what this one was. This might have been a Panasonic drill, but anyway, it was a nice chuck. It's an old metal style chuck head on it. This was a Panasonic metal style chuck head, and it gets real small. It's like a pin vise. It'll hold a really small drill. So I just use this for all kinds of stuff, drilling holes on the lathe freehand, making center marks, and now I use this a lot when I'm cleaning out my pen blanks. I press the nib onto the barrel. Make sure it's on nice, and there you go. Now I'll pull that out of there. Transmission, and make sure it is fully retracted so that it's not out at its longest throw, it's at its shortest throw. The transmission twist mechanism, and I push it just before the line, and then I like to test it. I will screw the refill in and see if I get the appropriate stick out. If I don't, I'll adjust. I'll be able to push in a little bit more until I get the appropriate stick out on the actual nib of the refill, or the roller of the refill. Okay, so as you can see, I need a little bit more stick out on that, probably another, at least a 1/16 of an inch. So I'll be bringing it right up to that line, it looks like. You pull the cartridge out and then put it back in the press and proceed to bring it up to that line. So now we're pressing again. We'll bring it right up to that line and just barely cover it. Now the stick out is looking really good. And in the retracted mode, it's perfect. It's below surface, you can't see it. And then when you twist it out, perfect stick out. So always check. Okay, so now I've taken a spacer tube from another set and inserted it, and now I see exactly how much I have to trim off. So I will trim that much off and then come back and refit the tube until I get a really nice fit on that. You can see I have a micro trim. I'm down to about a fat 32nd of an inch to trim off. Right, so now I'm right out to the edge. This tube from another one of the sets, and then I have this piece ready to go once I'm done turning. Now what I'm going to do is insert this tube, no sanding required. I'll be inserting this tube, and then I'll put that on my mandrel and go turn it on the lathe. Here at my tailstock end, that'll be where my nib goes, and then the other end that's glued in already, that will end up being the finial cap. Okay, let's get turning. I've got everything locked off. Not too much pressure on it, just enough. And bring up the speed. I'll be turning up here around 22, actually 25, 2600. I'm going to do a little adjusting right down here. There we go. That'll do it. So now I'll do some sanding, some step sanding, and then I'll come back to show you the colorization process. Using some Jacquard silk colors. These seem to work really well. I ran out of my printer, soy-based printer ink ones, and I ended up seeing these at a local arts and crafts store, so I decided to grab them. I'm going to go in reverse here first. Relatively slow so it's not flying all over the place. And then I'll just make sure I get a nice coat. In that direction. Turn it around in the other direction. And get a nice coat. Going in that direction as well. Just kind of squeegee the excess and my marks to the outside edges. And now it can go in the other direction. All right, now I'm going to let that dry. I think I'm going to like that. I'm going to leave this one yellow. Got some t-shirt material here, and coming in with this, and now spinning forward, just light pressure. You don't want to put too much pressure on this because it has a joint there in the middle of the two brass tubes, and there's no glue on this side. Okay, so we're getting rid of some of that. Make sure I'm not blocking your view. Nope, okay, good. And now, that's forward, now reverse. Okay. Now it's dried, and now I'll be putting on a couple, probably about 12 or so layers at least of CA glue. And there's a lot of videos out there on how to do that. Let me just show you what I like to do. Same thing. I'm starting with some small cotton squares, which I'm making up right now, off camera. Sorry about that. And then what I'll be doing Starting out with thin CA glue. I'll be starting out with some thin CA, spinning in a forward direction, and I'll be putting some CA onto this little cloth and then running back and forth a couple times until you start feeling it heat up. And you want to get off of the piece before it starts kicking, obviously. All right, so I'm going to be running probably, like I said, about 12 coats on this, probably 4 or 5 coats of the thin, and then some more coats, seven coats of the medium. And then I'll be pulling this off and showing you how to press the rest of the parts together. All right, same thing with the medium. Spinning up here a little over 1,000 RPM. And starting at the nib end, working toward the finial and back. Now I apply some microfine Yorkshire grit. Try this again. I'm getting some color coming through here still. I don't know if that was off the bushings. So let me just wipe this all down really well. Sure looks nice, but I see some color, which you don't want to have any color seeping out. It might be this yellow. Maybe this particular yellow keeps kind of etching in. I was noticing more coming off. So now let's wipe down. I'm going to do another coat here of medium. All right. Now a little micro mesh. And off. Let's see if I'm getting color anymore. No, no more color. So let's take a look at the piece. And that looks really nice. Okay, so now I'm back to where I was before. A little bit of Yorkshire grit. Some Yorkshire grit. There we go. Now we're clean. Okay. Okay, there it is. Now we'll press it together. It looks really nice. Here's another little tip I do. There's a lot of buildup down here. A lot of buildup down here of glue, and up here at this bushing because I don't have non-stick bushings. So I'm just going to come in here very carefully. Remove a majority of that at the edge. Same thing down here. Do a little sand on that end. And now a tube will come out. So there's the piece right there. Okay, so let's get rid of this. I'll put this tube back in the kit. This tube here I'll put back in the kit that it came from. And then this will get ready to press together. Okay, so I put the brass tube back in here, in this end, the one that's not glued in. I have my bushings in here. Now I'm bringing this up. This is nice and tight here. Bringing this up, finding a spot that has the least amount of fire in it, which is right here. And let's get rid of that piece of dust. There we go. Right there. Oops, sorry. And bringing that in, adjusting, and push. And that should hopefully protect my wooden end down here from getting crushed too much. Now let's back that off. And now my brass tube. Oop, oop. Tried to get stuck in there now. Removing it. So what I did is just put a drill bit that fits in there inside and then pulled it out. And there you go. That's the piece. So now, let me show you the last part of that process. Now I will indeed put this tube back in its kit. Okay, so now the next thing you'll do is you'll take the pre-assembled part here, slide that in, and it'll engage with the other tube up in here. And now, oh, went in a little too far. So here, let's pull that back out. There we go. Okay, and retract. Right there. It's a little sticky. I think it's because the two holes, yeah, there we go. Now it's working a little better. Okay. I have to just probably pull it apart and put it back together a couple times. I may have to use that drill again on the inside of there to work. Okay, so what I'm doing, taking and doing a little bit more of this very carefully. You don't want to crack that unsupported wooden tube in there. And I think what it is there might be some debris in there. Or what it can be is because my drill bit My drill bit is not long enough to make this as one full pass. I end up about that short. There could be a little crook in it, but it didn't seem like it. Everything went real smoothly like that. It just feels like something's getting in the way inside of here. I'm going to try one other thing. So now here's the size of the wooden hole. I got to be very careful. I'm going to spin in reverse. Yeah, there's something still on the inside in here. I'm really hesitant. I don't want to push on this too much because I could crack this tube. So let's see if that works. Okay, so now that's a little better. And yeah, there we go. A little bit of usage, that'll be perfect. Anyway, with a little bit of work, you can make one of these. You know, take your time. If you have a longer drill bit, and you could start with a really good drill bit and then finish maybe with a longer jobber's drill bit, you'd probably do a little better. Okay, so I got it working. Now we get a nice stick out, nice retraction. And whoop, make sure you can see this. And let's get a better. There we go. Finished pen. Came out real nice. This lighting's a little weird in here. I'll get some shots out in the sunlight. Thanks for watching another episode of The Naked Turner. It's a yellow pen. And like I said, I'll take it outside and get some better shots of it. The lighting in here is not very good. But anyway, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Take care. Be safe out there. Let's keep this curve flattened no matter where you are. Apparently there's a whole nother wave of this thing coming around. So let's just be real careful, stay safe, and do your part.